The cold metal floor stung her knees. Zira slowly opened her eyes. Her head was spinning. Her hands were tied behind her back with strong bands. Her heart was racing. She looked around. The walls were gray. No windows. Just one door. One small, blinking light above it. A prison. She was in a human prison. Her chest tightened. This was the end. Zira was an alien. A scout. She had been flying over Earth, watching, learning. Her leaders told her that humans were dangerous. They were cruel. They captured aliens and never let them go. If a human caught you, you were as good as dead. Now she had been caught. She remembered. Her crash, her ship, was hit by something. She fell through Earth's atmosphere and blacked out. When she woke up, she was here. Footsteps echoed outside the door. Heavy boots. Multiple humans. She closed her eyes and whispered to herself, "I'm going to die." The door opened with a hiss. Bright light flooded in. Two humans walked in. Both wore strange suits with black armor and shiny visors. One held a glowing stick. The other carried a small box. Behind them, a man stepped in. No armor, just a white coat. He looked calm. His eyes were soft. "Is she awake?" the man asked. "Yes, doctor," one guard replied. The man in the white coat knelt down in front of her. Zira tensed. Her body shook. She expected pain. A hit, a needle, a shock, but he did nothing. Instead, he spoke gently. "My name is Dr. Allen. I'm here to help you." Zira didn't reply. He opened the box slowly. It had tools and soft cloth. He reached out carefully, like someone approaching a frightened animal. "I know you're scared. You've been hurt," he said. "But you are safe now." Zira blinked. Safe? No. Humans lie. He gently touched her arm. She flinched. "I won't hurt you," he said again. He scanned her arm with a small device. It beeped. He frowned. "Your temperature is high. She might be sick." The guard stepped forward. "Are you sure we should help it, sir?" "She's not an it," Allen said firmly. "She's a living being." Zira stared at him. No one had ever talked about her. Like that, like she mattered. Allen carefully cut the bands around her wrists. Zira didn't move. She could have attacked, but she didn't. "Do you understand me?" he asked. She nodded just a little. Allen smiled. "That's good. You don't have to speak. Just rest. We'll take care of you." He stood up. "Bring a blanket and some water." The guards looked unsure, but they followed the order. As Allen walked out, he said softly to her, "You don't have to fear us. Not all humans are monsters." Zira stared at the door as it closed. Her mind raced. This made no sense. Why were they helping her? Her people told her humans were murderers, killers. They destroyed planets. They hated aliens. But this one called her she. Not it. He gave her water. He freed her hands. He looked into her eyes and spoke with kindness. Was it a trick? Is it real? She looked down at her hands. They were shaking. Not from fear, but from confusion. What if everything she believed was a lie? Later that night, she sat on the small bed. In the corner, a guard watched her through the glass wall. She drank the water slowly. They hadn't drugged it. She was still awake. Still alive. A small camera blinked in the corner. Zira stood and walked toward it. She stared directly into the lens. "I don't know why you are helping me," she said softly, unsure if they could hear. "But I will find out. And if this is a trick," she didn't finish the sentence, because deep down, something in her heart told her this was different. Suddenly, the door opened again. Allen came back, holding a soft blanket. "I thought you might be cold," he said, placing it on the bed. She looked at him. No anger, no fear, just curiosity. He turned to leave. "Why?" she finally asked. her voice weak but clear. Alan stopped. He looked at her with kind eyes. "Because no one deserves to be treated like a monster," he said. "Not even those we don't understand." He left the room. Zira sat back down, wrapped the blanket around her, and stared into the corner. Her whole life, she thought humans were killers. Now one had touched her hand. And it was gentle. Zira stood in front of the mirror, staring at the reflection that didn't feel like her own. The human clothes were soft. The shirt had sleeves too long. The pants felt strange. But the room, it was warm. There was a real bed, lights that responded to voice, and a screen showing peaceful images of earth blue skies, trees, water. Everything felt calm. To calm. She didn't trust it. Her people warned her about human tricks. "They offer peace before war," her commander had said. "Their kindness is a trap." Maybe this was the trap. A knock echoed on the door. Zero froze. The door opened, slowly. Alan stepped in again with that gentle voice. "Good morning." "You look better today," he smiled. He carried a tray of food. Zira didn't respond. Her eyes locked on the small, glowing ball on the tray. A scanner. She had seen them before, used to check DNA. He noticed her stare. "It's just to make sure the food won't harm your biology. We're still learning about you." Zira stayed quiet. Her training told her not to speak. But curiosity whispered louder. "You could hurt me," she said softly. "Why don't you?" Alan placed the tray on a small table. He pulled out a chair and sat, calmly. "Because hurting someone just because they're different isn't what we believe," he said. Zira tilted her head. "But you've done it before. Your species has destroyed things." Alan sighed. "We have, but we also learn. We try to change." His words didn't match the stories she had grown up with. Humans didn't change. Humans killed. And yet, here she was alive, breathing, treated like a guest, not a prisoner. Alan stood up. "When you're ready, we'd like to ask questions. About where you come from. About your ship. Only if you want to share." Zero looked at him sharply. There it is. The real reason. Information. That's what they wanted. But she said nothing. Alan left without pushing. Once the door closed, Zira reached under the bed. She had hidden something the night before. A tiny silver chip from her flight suit. It's broken, but not useless. She tapped it twice. A red light blinked once, then faded. Good. It was recording. She would collect evidence. She would prove to her people that humans were not what they appeared to be if they were pretending. This chip would catch them. Later that day, Zira was escorted to another room. It was filled with screens. Footage of planets, star charts, strange Earth animals. She was left alone. She walked slowly, eyeing the data. The humans were studying the galaxy, not planning war, but searching for signs of life. Peaceful missions. Scientific research. Still. This could be a show. She moved toward a screen showing camera feeds from different parts of the ship. One screen caught her attention. A medical bay. A human nurse was tending to an alien her kind. Zira stepped closer. Her breath stopped. The alien was wounded, bleeding. But the human didn't seem afraid. She was gently wrapping bandages, whispering calming words like Alan did. Zira pressed the screen. Rewind, replay. The footage was real. The human doctor saved one of them. Her mind spun. Why would they help someone who might be their enemy? It didn't make sense. Unless what she was told was a lie. She sank into the chair. That word echoed in her skull. Lie. What if her leaders weren't telling the full truth? What if humans weren't monsters? Her chip blinked again, recording everything. But now Zero wasn't sure what the evidence proved. She walked back to her room in silence. That night, Zero sat on her bed, staring at the tray of uneaten food. The room was quiet, but her thoughts were loud. She opened the recording chip again. Scrolled through hours of footage. Every human she had seen today had been gentle, kind. They said thank you. They asked questions instead of shouting orders. They smiled at each other. This was not the war-hungry species she was taught. To hate, was it possible? She had been lied to her whole life. She stood up, paced back and forth. Then, she opened the communication device inside the wall. Connect secure channel. She whispered in her own language. A few seconds passed. A cold robotic voice answered. Zero. Report. She hesitated, then spoke. I have entered the human ship. I am being treated well. Pause. Have you given them intel? The voice asked. No, she said quickly. But I have seen things. They are not as we believed. Static. Then the voice turned sharper. Remember your mission. Observe, report. Do not be fooled by their masks. Zero didn't reply. The channel ended. She stood alone, fingers trembling. The screen across her room showed a video of a sunrise on Earth, birds flying, ocean waves. She didn't understand this world, but she wasn't sure she understood hers anymore either. The alarm lights were silent. The hallways were quiet, and Zero had a plan. She moved carefully through the small maintenance shaft behind her room's wall. It was narrow, dark, and dusty, but she could fit just barely. Her breathing was slow. Controlled, she had waited 3 days, watched every camera angle, memorized every guard's path, listened to every system, buzz in the walls. She hadn't told the humans she understood their language now. That was her advantage. They still thought she was confused. Learning. But Zero was always learning. She reached the access panel marked with human letters. Engineering power junction. Perfect. She tapped her small silver chip now, reprogrammed to work like a hack tool. Not perfect, but enough. Wires sparked. The door hissed. Zero slipped into the power room. She wasn't trying to destroy anything. She just needed to shut down the cameras for exactly 14 seconds, long enough to escape. But then she paused. A soft beeping echoed in the room. One of the screens showed the ship's outside cameras, and what she saw made her blood run cold. Her people's ship, floating just outside. Human radar range, cloaked, silent, waiting. She recognized the shape the same. Fleet-class ship that sent her on her mission. It was watching. Why now? She whispered. Why didn't they come before? A light on the screen blinked. An incoming transmission from the alien ship. Zero didn't answer. She couldn't if the humans found out. They'd call her a spy. But if she didn't respond, her people might think she had betrayed them. She was trapped between two sides. She closed the screen and returned to the main panel. She had a choice now. Escape. Return to her kind. Leave these humans behind. Or stay and find out why everything felt so different from what she was told. Suddenly, the ship's intercom crackled. A human voice shouted, "Red alert. Unidentified object detected off starboard wing." Zero's eyes widened. They saw the alien ship. A second alarm began to blare. The room's lights turned red. Doors auto-locked. The humans were preparing for an attack. She rushed back through the shaft, heart pounding, when she reached her room. 2 guards were already outside. They grabbed her arms, not rough, but firm. Was that your ship? One asked. Did you signal them? Zero shook her head. I don't know why they're here, I swear. Alan appeared breathless. Stand down, he told the guards. She's not our enemy. The guards hesitated, then stepped back. Zero looked at Alan. His face was serious. But not angry. He didn't yell. He didn't accuse. He just asked, "Do you want to help us?" Zero stared at him. She thought of the warmth, the food, the blanket, the sunrise video. The human nurse helping her kind. Then she thought of the cold. Voices of her commanders. Use them. Trick them. Leave nothing behind. She nodded. Alan led her to the command room. Inside. A large screen showed her people's ship still cloaked, but now flickering. Its shields were weak. A human officer said, "They're scanning us, looking for weak points." Zero stepped forward. "They will strike from below. That ship has forward cannons, but a hidden ventral laser. That's how they hit me." The room went silent. "You're sure?" The officer asked. "Yes," Zero said. "I flew that ship. I know its blind spots." No one moved. Then Alan looked at the captain. "I believe her." The captain gave a slow nod. Then we prepared to defend. Zero stared at the screen again. Her people were going to attack. Not because the humans fired first, but because they never wanted peace. This was always the plan. Later, as the ship moved into defense mode, Zero sat in a quiet corner of the medical bay. She wasn't locked up. She wasn't under guard. Alan sat beside her, checking his notes. Zero looked at him. "They want to destroy you, even if you never raised a weapon." He nodded. "We figured. But now, we have you. That changes things." She looked away. "Why do you trust me?" Alan smiled, tired but kind. "Because trust has to start somewhere. And you warned us when you didn't have to." She thought about that. She had been ready to run, ready to leave them behind. But something inside her changed. When she saw their faces, when they looked at her not as an enemy, but as someone. Maybe not family, but not a monster either. Asterisk, the ship was quiet again. Too quiet. Zero walked alone down the long hallway. No alarms, no guards. Just dim lights above and the soft hum of the engines. The alien ship had disappeared 2 hours ago. No attack, no message, ... gone. It felt wrong. Like the calm before a deadly storm. She stopped by a window and looked out into space. Stars stretched across the black. Somewhere out there, her people were watching. Planning she could feel. Behind her, a soft voice said, "Can't sleep." Zira turned. It was Alan. "No," she replied. "Too much noise." In my head, he nodded and leaned on the wall next to her. "I know that noise." They stood in silence. Then Zira asked, "Why didn't they attack?" Alan shrugged. "Maybe. They saw we were ready. Maybe your warning saved us." She looked down. Her voice was quiet. Or maybe they're waiting for something worse. In the control room, Captain Reyes watched the star charts. No sign of enemy movement. But her gut said it wasn't over. "Keep scanners on full range," she told her crew. "And someone check on Zira. Make sure she's still all ready." "Here," Zero said, walking in with Alan. The room tensed. Some officers stared. Others whispered. One soldier muttered, "She warned us last time, or lured us into a trap." Zira heard him. She ignored it. She stepped forward. "I want to help." The captain looked at her, cautious. "Why?" Zira took a breath. "Because if my people strike again, it won't be like before. They'll come with weapons designed to kill your kind." The crew was quiet. "And how do you know this?" one officer asked. Zero hesitated. "I used to be part of the command network," she admitted. "I was not just a scout. I was a link. A receiver." Alan frowned. "You're saying you can still hear them?" Zero nodded. That's when the lights flickered. Then a voice rang out inside her head. "Zira, report." She froze. It was him, her commander. The humans believe you. Good, continue the plan. Zira stumbled back. Her hands went to her ears, but the voice was inside her skull. You have done well. You will be remembered for this. Alan stepped closer. Zira, what's happening? She looked up, her face pale. They're in my mind. They're still using me. Soon, we strike. Open the inside doors when we arrive. Let them burn. No, Zira whispered. I won't. You are loyal, you obey. This is who you are, she screamed. The voice was loud, pressing. Crushing, crushing. Alan grabbed her shoulders. Fight it. You're not theirs anymore. Zira fell to her knees. Her vision blurred. She focused on Alan's voice. Not the commander's, not the voice of war, but the voice of someone who called her a person. Minutes later, Zira was inside a secure med bay. Monitors tracked her brainwaves. She breathed slowly, clutching the edge of the bed. Alan stood beside her. We think there's a transmitter buried in your neural system. Deep tech, hidden, passive, you mean? I'm a weapon, she said, staring at the floor. No, Alan said firmly. You're not what they made you. You chose to warn us. You chose truth. Zira shook her head. But what if I change my mind? What if they push harder next time? Alan looked her in the eyes. Then we'll stop them. Together. Meanwhile, on the bridge, Captain Reyes watched the new signal approaching faster than before. Another ship, bigger, heavily armed. This is it, she said. They're coming again. In the med bay, Zira sat up. Her hands were shaking. I can stop them, she whispered. Alan turned. How? I know the codes, she said. The inner door commands. I can lock them out of our systems before. They tried to take control. Alan's face was unsure. Are you sure you're strong enough? She stood. I have to be. Inside the control room, Zira typed quickly. Alien code flashed across the screen. She bypassed systems, locked pathways, scrambled the comm channels her people would try to use. Alan stood beside her, watching in awe. You're cutting them off, he said. Zira smiled faintly. No, I'm choosing sides. But just as she locked the final firewall, Zira. The voice returned, loud and angry. You betray your own blood. You side with them. Her hands shook. Alan grabbed her wrist. You're not alone. She pressed the final key. The voice faded silence. And then, the alien ship vanished from their scanners. It left without a fight. Zira sat alone in the dark room. No lights, no voices, just the steady thump of her heartbeat. Her hands were cold, her mind louder than ever. They had called her a traitor. Not the humans, her people. The voice in her head was gone now, silenced by her actions, but the silence felt heavy, like someone watching, judging. She was cut off from her kind, not by chains, but by choice. Outside the room, Alan argued with the captain. She saved us twice now, he said. She could have opened the doors, could have shut down our defenses. She didn't. Captain Reyes crossed her arms. She also admitted she had access to our systems the whole time. We're lucky she chose not to use it. She didn't use it, Alan repeated. That should matter. Reyes looked through the glass at Zira, sitting still in the dark. She's not one of us, she said quietly. And soon, neither will we be. Alan turned sharply. What do you mean? The captain exhaled. We just got a message. Earth. Command wants to hand her over. A gesture of peace, they said. Alan's face went pale. They want to give her back to her people. No, Reyes said. To the Alien Alliance, council she never served. A group that sees her as a threat to their control. Alan stepped back, stunned. They'll kill her. The captain nodded. They'll make it look legal. But yes, they want her gone. Inside the room, Zira knew something had changed. She could feel it. The walls felt closer, the shadows colder. She had given up her people, burned the bridge, closed the channel, and now the humans were about to do the same. Later, Alan entered with a tablet in hand. Kay looked tired. Zero didn't. Move, he sat across from her, quiet for a moment. Then he said, "They want to transfer you." She looked up slowly. To who? To an alien authority. One that claims to protect species order. Zira's mouth twisted. A pretty name for execution. Alan didn't argue. He couldn't. She leaned back. So, this is the price. Of peace. Alan looked down. I'm sorry. No. Zira said softly. Don't be. You tried. There was silence between them. Then she asked, if I leave, will the humans be safe? Alan blinked. What? If I go with them, will the war stop? He paused. Maybe, maybe not. But the leaders believe it's worth the risk. She closed her eyes. Then I have one last thing to do. That night, Zero accessed a hidden panel in the wall. She entered an old coda. Risky one. It opened a private link. Not to her commander, but to her sister, a diplomat on a neutral moon. The screen flickered. Then a face appeared, sharp features. Same glowing eyes, shocked. Zira, you're alive. I don't have much time, Zira said. I need a favor. Her sister leaned in. You're wanted across 4 sectors. They say you betrayed us. I told the truth, Zira replied. They don't care about truth. I know. Her sister paused, then whispered, what do you need? The next morning, Captain Reyes received a strange alert. An encrypted message from an unknown ship, -nan-hostile. It said, we have Zira's testimony. We have her recordings. We will share the truth across systems if she is harmed. A.S. looked at Alan. He smiled faintly. She didn't try to run. She tried to protect us, even from us. As the humans prepared the shuttle for the handover, Zero stood outside, cuffs on her wrists, 2 guards beside her. Alan approached. I tried to stop it, he said. Zero nodded. I know. Then quietly she added, if you ever wonder who I was, remember this. She reached out her hands. Loliand gently touched his shoulder. Not a spy, she said. Not a soldier. A choice. The shuttle lifted off. Alan watched it vanish into the stars. For a moment, everything felt heavy. But hours later, a viral broadcast began spreading across human and alien channels. Zira's voice echoed. They told me humans were monsters. But when I was at my weakest, a human reached out with kindness. Not fear, not power, just a gentle touch. And that changed everything. Zira had left the ship, but her voice had just started a war no weapon could stop. A war of truth. Asterisk, the cell was silent. No walls of glass this time, no soft lights, just darkness. And the sound of Zira's breathing, weak, shallow, almost broken. Her arms were chained above her head. Her feet barely touched the floor. Her body hurt in places she didn't. No could feel pain. She had left the humans willingly. Now, she was their prisoner again. Not the humans, her own kind. The alien authority was a lie. There was no council. No peacekeepers. No trial, only punishment. For betrayal, for speaking truth, for choosing them. Zira had expected this. What she didn't expect was to still be alive. A figure entered the room. Tall, covered in dark armor. No face, just a voice, cold and sharp. You had one task, to observe, to destroy from inside. Zira coughed. Blood touched her lips. The voice continued. Stead. You gave them secrets. You let them live. She didn't speak. She had no words left for liars. The figure stepped closer. Why Zira? She looked up, her voice barely a whisper. Because they were better than us. The figure raised a hand. Light burst through the room. Pain followed. And then, silence again. Back on the human ship, Alan couldn't sleep. Zira's final message played over and over in his mind. A human reached out with kindness. Kay stared at the screen. They had no idea where she was. A location. No signal. But every officer who heard her words felt something shift. She had risked everything for a species not her own. Now, she was likely gone. 3 days passed. Then, something changed. A shuttle appeared damaged, smoking, drifting toward. The human ship, no markings. No beacon. Just a weak signal. Medical, urgent. One survivor. They pulled the shuttle in. Inside, barely breathing. Covered in burns and blood. Zira. Alan ran to the medbay as the sirens blared. Nurses rushed. Machines beeped. Her pulse was faint. Too faint. He grabbed her hand, cold and limp. She's in shock. Someone shouted. Neural damage. Organs shutting down. Alan pressed a mask to her face. Stay with us. You didn't come all this way to die. But her body twitched. And then? FLATLINE. The monitor screamed. Alan froze. A nurse reached for the defibrillator. Wait, Alan shouted. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a glowing capsule, something Zira once left with. Him, in case I fall, she had said. This will help restart me. He had hoped he'd never use it. Now, he pressed it to her skin. A click. A hiss, nothing. Then Zira's body jolted. Her eyes opened, widened. She gasped. Hours later, she opened her eyes again, this time slower, calmer. Alan was sitting beside her, smiling. You're back, he whispered. Zira tried to speak. Her voice cracked. Why? Help me. Again? Alan leaned forward. Because you already helped us, he said. You didn't just save this ship. You saved what's good in us. She blinked. A tear slid from the corner of her eye. The next day, Zira was still weak. But sitting up, she looked out the window, stars shining bright across the dark sky. One nurse asked her, why did they let you go? Zira answered softly. They didn't. The room went quiet. Alan looked at her. Then, how are you here? Zira turned to him. I escaped. After the beating, I stole a shuttle. I flew blind. I had no map. No guide. Alan was stunned. You risked death? Zira nodded. I already chose death. I just wanted to choose where. Captain Reyes visited her later. Zira stood with help. I owe you an apology, the captain said. I trusted the wrong people. I thought peace was about silence. But peace is about truth. Zira smiled faintly. Then we're finally speaking the same language. The captain offered her hand. This time, Zira took it. Later, Alan recorded. One last report, his voice calm, his words clear. Zira is no longer a threat. She is no longer an enemy. She is a survivor, a fighter, and maybe, just maybe, the first true bridge between our species. Zira had died for them once, now she. Lived. Not as a spy, not as a weapon, but as something her people said she could never be, free. The war never came. Not the way they all expected. No fire, no bombs, no ships falling from the sky. Just silence, and silence, sometimes, is louder than screams. Zira walked slowly through the open garden deck of the human ship. It was the only place with real sunlight. Filtered through artificial sky panels, small trees, flowers, soft grass under her bare feet. She had never felt grass before. On her home world, there was only metal and dust. She closed her eyes. The warmth felt strange, but good alive in the days since her return. Things had changed, not just in the ship. In the galaxy, her message had traveled farther than anyone expected. Some alien worlds called her a traitor. Others called her a symbol of courage. Some humans still looked at her with fear, but more and more looked at her with wonder. Not because she was strange, but because she had chosen them, when she had no reason to, and when her own kind tried to erase her. She came back. A voice broke her thoughts. Ambassador Zira. She turned. A human officer handed her a small data pad. The council meeting is ready. Earth, Vale, and Irani systems are all present. She nodded. I'll be there shortly. The officer hesitated. Zira, thank you. She tilted her head. For what? For reminding us that peace is possible. Zira gave a soft smile. I didn't remind you, she said. You reminded me. Later in the council chamber, Zira sat at the center table. On the screens, different faces from different species looked at her. Not all were friendly, but none looked away. She spoke clearly. You asked me to speak about humans, about Earth, about their threat. A pause. I was taught they were killers. But when I crashed, an expected death. She looked at Alan, sitting quietly nearby. I felt a gentle touch instead. They offered kindness first, then food, then a voice, then a choice. Her voice lowered, and I chose to stay. Some council members muttered, others whispered to aides. Zira continued. Humans are not perfect, but no species is. We all carry history, pain, mistakes. But I saw them grow in real time. I saw fear turn into friendship. I saw war waiting at the door, and someone choose compassion instead. She looked directly into the screen. If that makes me a traitor, then so be it. But I will not lie to you. They are not monsters. A long silence followed. Then one council member spoke. And what are you, Zira? She thought for a moment and then said quietly, proof. That night, after the meeting, she walked through the human city dock. Shuttles passed overhead. People moved through glowing streets, and then a small girl ran up to her. Zira froze. Children often stared at her, some with fear, some with awe. This one, just curious. The little girl reached out her hand. Zira stepped back. Unsure, she still remembered what fear felt like, what being hunted felt like. But the girl didn't move away. She smiled and said, You look like the stars. Zira blinked. Then, slowly, she reached out her own hand. The girl didn't flinch. Their hands touched, small, warm, soft. Zira expected fear, but what she felt was peace. Alan watched from a distance. No guards, no soldiers, just a child and a survivor. A simple moment, but a moment that meant everything. Later, in her quarters, Zira recorded one last message. Not for her people, not for the council, but for herself. Once I was told humans were dangerous. Maybe they are, but they're also something else. Curious, kind, capable of terrible things. And beautiful ones too. I am Zira. I was a weapon. I was a voice in the dark. Now, I am a bridge. Not between planets, between hearts. She saved the message, then looked out her window one more time. Stars everywhere, and somewhere out there, someone else would listen. She braced for death at human hands. But instead, she felt a gentle touch. And that changed the galaxy forever.